Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be doing something I haven't done in a while, only because I don't really play this game anymore as much. But when I do, I'll be coming on here just playing, dabbling. But today, I've come up with a way for me to love Utopias again after hating them for so long in this game, because of how broken they are. I'll play with them now as long as I can play with this deck. It's basically a mix of Yuma Sukumo's Pips, which is the dog deck user one of the side characters, and Kathy Catherine, my favorite character in all of Zexal. Not Yu-Gi-Oh, but Zexal. I call it Utopic Beast. Of course, you can use Draw Sense Light or Draw Sense Earth, but I prefer Earth because you'll see in a second what I mean. It'll save you a lot of strain. First, we have Alpha, the Master of Beasts. I'll point out what card come from whose deck when I get to them, but this one is just one I bumped into coming back to the game today after not playing for a bit. And man, when I saw his effect right here, I was like, "Oh, I could use him in one of my Kathy Catherine decks because he's a recovery type thing." So I did, and dude, the first duel I was actually able to play him was just fascinating. So what he does is, if your opponent has more their monsters have more monsters than more attack points than your monsters, you can special summon this monster, sending back any beast, warrior beast, or winged beast monsters back to your hand. And your opponent has to do the same thing with their cards. So if you send back 3, they have to send back 3 cards on their field to their hand of your choice. They can't choose themselves. So you can get rid of a bunch of dangerous cards if you have a bunch of beasts to return to your hand when you need to summon him the most, given a good OTK if they down less than 3,000 life points. Then we have 3 Ghost Ship. This deck does need Fiends because it uses some illusion monster, one illusion fusion. But I chose Ghost Ship specifically because it makes use of any destroyed Utopias / light monsters in my graveyard. Because this right here says it can't be summoned, can't be not normal summoned or set. Must be special summoned from the hand by banishing 1 light monster, which will be your destroyed monsters, or there's another way you're going to be using him. And this is why I said Draw Sense Earth, because this deck is mostly Earth. A Ghost Ship is the only light monster, and I don't think you want to rely on him to get you out of a pinch if you are in one. I'll rely on your Earth monsters instead. First, we have Cat Girl. I've already went over her skills with 2 other decks ideas I have on here. But she basically plays Stray Cat Girl from the hand, which is her main thing, so you can exceed summon with her faster. And then Stray Cat, when destroyed, can special summon. You can actually, if you normal summon instead of set it, which you should set it instead of normal summoning it. But if you do, you can special summon another Stray Cat in set position in defense position. And what's so cool about this is the reason you don't want to normal summon this is because it has very low attack and a somewhat good defense for level 1. But when destroyed, it special summons one monster cat from the hand, deck, or graveyard. So no matter where your monster cat is, you can special summon it other than banish. So you only need one monster cat in your deck. We have 3 of those. We only have 1 gazelle of the king magical claws. You don't need a searcher for this. Did all of the cards related to gazelle or beast or illusion cards are very little in this deck. They're basically like, if you pop it off, cool, but if you don't worry about it. You won't need it. But if you can, do it just to flex a win if you want to. So you don't need the searcher too much. Oh yeah, by the way, Stray Cat and Cat Girl are from Kathy Catherine's deck. He isn't from any of them, unless you want to count Yugi in this, but yeah. Now we go to a little bit of Pip here, which is Tribal Dog, basically stating while it's on the field during every main phase, you can special summon one other Tribal Dog next to it from the hand. Then we have Stray Cat Girl. If a level 1 beast type monster is about to be attacked, you can switch her out from the hand with that level 1 monster, basically making her trading in one monster for another on your opponent's turn, having them have to get over this card instead of Stray Cat or Monster Cat, which is the next one actually. Monster Cat, Stray Cat Girl, and Monster Cat are from Kathy Catherine's decks. From deck. This card special summons itself via the effect of Stray Cat only. There is no summoning this card normally, really. You can, but it's kind of pointless. Destroy as many level 4 or lower monsters your opponent controls, and if you do, this is on summon via Stray Cat's ability. Inflict battle damage to your opponent, 400 damage for each of the monsters destroyed. Once per turn, you can target one Stray Cat or Stray Cat Girl in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So not only is this a specific summon type card, it inflicts damage, and it can recycle cards back to your hand. Very good card, and this is the reason that Stray Cat Girl exists mainly. Other than being another level 4 for the cat type, for the cat archetype, is that this card is a level 1, and once it has its one use strategy other than its last effect, it's basically just a big brick on the board. So you want to have her in your hand to trade her out if you need to get a higher defense card on the field after. Now he's just a throw in. You can throw in any other fiend here, because you will need at least 4 fiends to balance his deck. I chose Element Doom because he's Element Doom, and I like using Element cards sometimes. But you're not going to use the Wind effect, but you will be using Earth, negate effects of effect monsters when this card destroys them in battle. So basically, I don't really know if graveyard effects still work, but I know that when he attacks into monsters, which is not going to be too many because he's pretty weak, he can negate that monster's ability while he's attacking them, while there's another Earth monster on the field. And now we also have Double or Nothing, the first Yuma Tsukumo card in this deck. Double or Nothing is, and if you know the meta of Utopia in this game, you'll know why it's here. Then we have something from Pip, which is Dog King. equip this card. You can equip this card, and the monster with this equipped card will get 500 attack for each beast type monster you control. That includes itself if it's also a beast. If this card is sent to the graveyard, add 1 Tri-Bulldog from your deck to your hand. So there's 2 of that. So you have a searcher for Tri-Bulldog there. And you also have a special summon for Tri-Bulldog. If you control a beast type monster, special summon 1 Tri-Bulldog from your deck or graveyard. Meaning you can also recycle Tri-Bulldog using this, and as you can see, this is also a pip card. Cat World, a Kathy Catherine card, which is cat. This one gives cat girl and stray cat monsters on the field double the attack, equal to their original. So she would become 2,400. She would become 1,200. And we'll get to what the extra deck one does become later when we get to the extra deck. And then we have Inviting Cat, another Kathy Catherine card. Add 1 cat girl monster or stray cat monster from the deck or to hand. You'll notice throughout all the support, nothing mentions monster cat, because like I said, you will be using stray cat to get monster cat out. If you have stray cat, monster cat in your hand and no other options, it's a brick hand. Don't get this in your hand. Always have it in the deck or in the graveyard. And then we have 2 Chimera Fusion, just for the chance that more of a chance to get it in your hand. But like I said before, these Chimera cards are mainly here for another OTK option or another monster on the field if you have the leeway room to do it. And since you have 2, that's why I said you only need 1 of this card, just 1 of this card in the deck. If you want to go the route of modifying this deck to make it more Chimera based, that's up to you, but I say don't do it. Don't do it. And then we have one of the more newer Chimera cards. He's the only fusion in this deck, and there's only 1 of him in the deck, because he's not very important. But if you want to use him, or like a challenge to get him out in every duel when you use this deck, that's cool too. Now we get to mostly all Yuma is the extra deck but 1, so I don't have to really say Yuma. This is Yuma's card. This is the Yuma part of the deck, basically. So you have Utopia Ray Victory here. You got your Utopia Ray V. You got the Utopia Ultimate Leo Utopia Ray here. You got yourself a Leo Arms for the Ultimate Leo here. And this is where the double or nothing is for. So this card can use its ability to get out double or nothing. And then you have Utopia Ray here. And then you have Utopia. Now we get to Cat Girl Magician. Cat Girl Magician is the ace of Kathy Catherine. AKA, since she's my favorite, this is one of my favorite main monsters. And with Cat World, she goes from 2,000 to 4,000 attack. Basically obelisk level attack. And it states during the battle phase, you can remove 1 material from her and half her attack. That's 1,000 on base. 2,000 is half if you have Cat World to attack directly. So best bases is Cat World, Cat Girl Magician 2,000 straight to the face, even if they have monsters on the field, or without it, 1,000 to the face. There you have that deck, Utopic Beast. I got some examples for you now, like I did in the past, so let's get on to that. Okay. And as usual, I'll be turning the music up for this because I want you guys to be immersed as much as possible. there you have it. That last one at the end, I always like to pit what could make this deck break fundamentally, which is Gravekeepers. This deck, just like every other deck that has to do with the cat cards or related, their biggest weakness is being unable to tap into the graveyard. So even if I had a chance in that last duel, I wouldn't have been able to do anything because my graveyard was locked by Gravekeepers. That being said, this gets over most decks if you think hard enough to get around them. But also with that being said, hope you liked the video. Like, comment, subscribe. Have yourselves a wonderful day and peace.